Hey, happy Friday. It's not Friday. Happy Sunday. It's PFG Live coming to you from Windham, New Hampshire, from the Flat Cave. And we got a bunch of people jumping in here. Let's see. Warren Jones from Sutton, New Hampshire reports 81 degrees Fahrenheit haze from the smoky fires someplace else. Eric with a K is here. Welcome, Eric. Dale says it is 23 degrees science, mostly sunny, and thunderstorms incoming this afternoon in northwest Hoth. Evils reports a whole bunch of numbers in a format that still makes no sense, but we're glad he's here. Josh says the audio is check, and his local METAR is reporting winds 031 at winds are 120 at 5 knots, temperature 22, dew point 16, with a bunch of remarks. Bill Olney from Rome, New York, home of Air Force Research Labs, says it's 78 degrees Fahrenheit, 46% relative humidity, and a wind speed of 7 miles an hour. A great day for outside work. Welcome aboard, sir. CJ Stevens is here, reporting 76 degrees and light rain on and off here in East Tennessee. Welcome, sir. Carl Tauber in the People's Republic of Rhode Island reports 82 degrees, 50 degrees dew point, glorious sunny fall weather in Rhode Island. And let's see. Andrew Deere, welcome aboard, sir. He's reporting 66 Fahrenheit and cloudy in Independence, Oregon. Welcome aboard. Harvey Newman says 75 degrees and sunny in Santa Rosa, California. Welcome aboard. Eric with a K says it's 23 degrees science, 68% relative humidity in southwest London. The British summer continues. Welcome. And here in the Windham, New Hampshire, it is 82 degrees Frankenstein, 39% relative humidity, nice and dry, and absolutely gorgeous out. Tucker in Buffalo, New York. He says Buffalo, New York. He fixed it. In Buffalo, New York, it's 81 degrees and sunny. Welcome aboard, sir. Practical Renaissance is reporting 74 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 miles an hour, east-northeast winds as per Kilo Echo Alpha X-Ray in Kansas City, Missouri. Welcome, sir. Let's see. And Practical Renaissance is out in the shop. Excellent. Proteum Machining is here, reporting 100 degrees. I hope that's Fahrenheit, and 7% relative humidity in his desiccant. No, just kidding. In his town of Tucson, Arizona. Welcome, Proteum. By the way, Proteum is offering a new service. If you guys need your filament dried, you could send it directly to Proteum Machining, Post Office Box Not Really, in Tucson, Arizona. Thank you for that service, Proteum. Welcome. Manchester Airport reports winds 190 at 10, gusting 15 knots, 7 mile visibility, and clear. Temperature 28, dew point 10, altimeter 3010. Welcome, everyone. If you're brand new to the channel, we're so sorry, but you'll get used to it. Proteum says, oh, that's a great scam. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Proteum says you could send him your filament and he'll just mark it return to sender, and by the time the post office sends it back, it'll be dry. Sign me up. You'll have a box coming this evening. That is absolutely hysterical. Welcome aboard, everyone. It really is a nice day. I was sitting outside in the sunshine, contemplating today's live, and it was really nice out. So let's see. We have a bunch of cool people here in the Discord. We have Dale, Josh, Tucker, Warren Jones, Carl Tauber, Bill Olney, Eric with a K. We'll be talking about Eric in a minute. DBX, Proteum Machining, and in the YouTube we have a whole bunch of people. CJ Stevens, Carl Tauber, Josh, also in the YouTube. He's in both places. Andrew, Harvey, Practical Renaissance. Welcome aboard, everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. We'll get you later. As always, if you have comments, questions, or snide remarks, feel free to put them in the chat in real time. If you're watching this after the fact, the way you join us live is going to the YouTube channel and follow us, and you'll be notified when we go live. Join us on the live. You'll be able to comment and quip. And alternatively, join us on our Discord server, and you can be live on our Discord server with us. That information is at pfg.gg/Discord. I know, it's crazy. And the YouTube playlist is at, this is also going to be crazy, PFG.Live. Just put that in your browser, and it'll take you right to the page. So, let's see. We got the report from the Flat Cave. So what's going on here in the Flat Cave? We have 4-inch PFG stones in process. Major surfaces are done. Sides are going to be done tonight. Actually, we may even be done with the batch tonight, and they'll be ready to ship on Monday. If not, they'll be ready to ship on Tuesday. We're working on a special project where we're making 8-inch laps. That is going well. However, I need some help. So I've got an SVG file, which is scalable vector graphic, and it contains a pattern which I want to turn into an engraving on the CNC machine. I got it to the 90% point, and there was some little errors in it. I tried to follow some SVG cleanup tricks. It got worse. So if anybody is an expert in taking something from SVG to actually machinable paths in Fusion, please get in touch with me, and we will talk. Maybe even Proteum. I'm looking at you. What else is going on here? There's a project in the wings where we're going to be doing some resonance testing. So remember last week we were talking about chatter and resonance and that sort of stuff. We did a bunch of talking in the after-party roundtable, so maybe not all of it was live. So there's a project where our good friend Unix Carbide is looking at new designs of 3D printers, and he wanted to use some of the structures with different recipes of filler in extrusions to damp resonances. It's a really good topic. So we're going to be setting up to do the testing. He sent me 4 test articles, and we will make some video on that. So that's in the wings. And finally, we almost ran out of stickers. Yeah, so we're going to talk Proteum. Maybe if you stick around for the after party roundtable, I will spell it out for you. But it's been an issue, and we're getting closer. And I could show you stuff in the after party roundtable video. We got really low on stickers. This is a theme, by the way, getting really low on stuff. We got really low on stickers, and we went back to our suppliers. So in the past, we had a sticker supplier who made good stickers, but we fired them. And we fired them because they kept on sending us political stuff in their catalogs and on their website, and it's like, we don't need that. We just want stickers. So we went looking for another sticker provider, and we went to 3 different providers and tried them out. All 3 of them we had positive results with, some better than others, and we were set for a few months. So then we got to this point now where we were really low on stickers, and I had to go get some stuff made. So I started marching down the list of 3 suppliers we previously used. And one supplier that we liked had a website that was just, it just was a stumbling block. You had to know, it didn't store your orders. You had to know the order number and tell it the order number, and then you could reorder. and it was something else wasn't working, and that was I don't want to get these wrong. That was Sticker App. Now, Sticker App had a quality product, but their interface was difficult, and I was in a rush. So I went to the next one on the list, which was Sticker Giant. Sticker Giant had a very good website, remembered all of our old orders, had live help that did answer questions and help us with our order, and it was easy, and we were able to get them the new artwork for the new stickers, get them the old artwork for the old stickers, hit the button, and it was done. So, and I know I said 3, but the third one, I don't remember if I had any luck with them. So we have decided to settle on Sticker Giant, and I just thought I'd let you know. Not sponsored. We're not getting any consideration. They don't even know I'm saying this, but I'm very happy with the stickers, and we just got reloaded. In fact, there's only one shipment left, which is coming tomorrow. So that's a story on stickers, and if any of you guys want stickers, just let me know, and we will figure out how to make that happen. Eagle Manufacturing. So Proteum is recommending Eagle Manufacturing on Instagram. I will check them out. Thank you, sir. Making a note. Done. So, now we're going to move on to community notes. Although I see, they're a school program. Interesting. We'll check it out. Okay. Thank you, sir. We have some community notes. First off, I would like to thank, this is a late thank you, but I would like to thank Kirsch Machine of Salem, Oregon, who sent me a little goodie. In fact, I don't even think he sent me a note. He didn't. He just sent me one of his little creations here, which is a placard. And this is a saying that I've used around our laser quite a bit, and I have a little engraving on aluminum that says this. But this is a really nice job. It says, "Warning, laser radiation. Do not look at laser with remaining eye." And I want to say thank you. This will be going on my laser. This looks like material that was meant for being lasered. And if you could send me, let me know where this came from. It's pretty nice. But anyway, there you go. Thanks again to Kirsch Machine, and we appreciate that. You may recall Mr. Grimsmo of Grimsmo Knives fame had a bit of a story with respect to going down to Blade Show this past year, and he lost a bunch of his knives, which were all packed up for the show, in shipping, and he eventually managed to recover the shipments. He had to drive back down to Atlanta. It was a whole story. And I decided that I absolutely needed to have one of those knives. So, in fact, I purchased a Fiel. And I just want to say thank you to the whole team at Team Grimsmo. You know who I'm talking to. And I got a whole box of goodies, but more importantly, I got this magnificent Fiel, which is right here, and it is absolutely beautiful. Very happy with it. And if you've never held a Grimsmo knife and operated a Grimsmo knife, you're missing something, okay? Because it is absolutely a work of art, and it feels so smooth. It is unworldly. So thanks again. I purchased this with real dollars, and the hashtag not sponsored, but now I have a Fiel, which we have named the Fiasco Fiel. I have a Fiasco Fiel, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you so much to Grimsmo Knives. Happy to have a knife with a story behind it. Let's see. Another thing that popped up on YouTube this week was Mr. A-Bomb79 himself, Adam Booth, who I've been following since day one. Great guy. He decided to create a product, and he's going to sell the product, which I think, from all sorts of standpoints, is awesome. Learning how to do CNC machining from the standpoint of a manual machinist. He has gone down this journey in a wonderful way, and a very humble, open-minded way, and he's doing great things. So then he decided he's going to make a CNC machine product, and I have to admit, I predicted the product as soon as I heard it. I knew exactly what the product was going to be, and I was correct. So I'll let you do your research on YouTube. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to buy one. And Adam, nice job, nice job, bud. But here comes the next piece of education is going to be in shipping. That's my one word to you, is that is a whole other world that you're going to become an expert in. We should have our own shipping Discord, but that's the next thing. So hang in there. I will be one of your customers. And thanks again, Adam Booth, for sharing all your stuff with us. I got a call from Eric with a K, who is in the chat right now. And we're going to have Eric with a K on next Sunday. And he's going to tell us all about something which Cloud42. Dale says you can call it the shipping channel. Yes, we can. Cloud42 published a video on YouTube today announcing his participation. I haven't seen it, but one of our guys saw it, and DBX saw it and reported it earlier, and discussed his participation in the Tool Room Takeover, which is starting real soon. And Eric with a K is the instigator of the Tool Room Takeover, and he has organized a really cool group that are going to be making stuff, and we're going to talk about that next week. So tune in next week for the details. Watch Cloud42's video, and you will learn more, and we will enjoy the results of that work. And Eric says it was several creators who shared the trailer. Got it. Like I said, I haven't been on YouTube this morning, so I know a bunch of them dropped. And we'll have Eric here in a week. Right, Eric? On the calendar. And it's August, not July. Let's see. I think those are the community notes. I think I covered everything. If you're interested in helping Tucker pick some switches for his Iron Man suit that he's building, I think he actually is Iron Man, but I don't want to say that publicly. You can come into the after party roundtable and join us. We have an errata. So last week we talked about chatter, and we talked about stopping chatter and that kind of stuff, and we got into resonance, and I said something that was incorrect. I said that critical damping is when if you hit something, it will overshoot and then come back, and if it only comes back without undershooting, then it's critical damping. I was wrong. I was remembering something from my engineering past, which was real close, but what I was remembering was something else. Critical damping is when the signal or the measurement approaches the final value and reaches the final value with no overshoot. It's the fastest approach to the final value without overshoot. And technically, there's a term called zeta, which is damping factor. And when the damping factor is 1.0, that's critical damping, and the shape you get is that very nice no overshoot shape. I was incorrect in saying what I said. What I remembered is called a Butterworth filter response, which has a, I know you guys are going to love this, has a zeta value of 1 over the square root of 2. And that's the one where it overshoots and then settles without further overshoot. So that's the errata. We got that covered. And hopefully we will keep the errata portion of the show to a minimum. So yeah, that's I think we're caught up. Is anybody else have any community news that we need to cover before we jump into some of the topics? Hearing no objections, we'll keep on going. So over the years, we've had a couple of occasions to do some time sharing on equipment, and this came up again. I'll give you the history, and then I'll tell you about what's happening now. Years ago, my friend Steve and I really wanted one of these Nikon slide scanners that was out at the time, and they were expensive, but we decided that we would go in 50-50 because you used it for, hours or even hours and hours, and then you put it away like you didn't need it for months and months. So we logically said, well, why don't we chip in on one and we'll both own it, and that way we could do a bunch of slide scanning. Oh, I guess I should explain what a slide is. I'm sorry. I forgot that I'm old. This is 35 millimeter film photography, resulting in positive slides where you project the slides by putting light through them, focusing the light on a screen. Those are called slides. Okay, I just didn't want to leave out the last generation or two. So a slide scanner, you would stack up your 35 millimeter slides that are in a cardboard, generally in a cardboard mount, and the slide scanner would suck one in, and then it would digitally scan it, write out a file, and suck in the next one. So you could put in a pile of slides and it would go through them and make files. So we did that, and it worked. And what happens naturally with these things is our usage tapered off. Right now, the hardware is sitting in Steve's place, and the support software to run it has timed out to the point where he has a computer set aside with old operating systems so that he could run the software that drives the scanner. Okay. Anyway, that was an early example of a shared piece of equipment that's still going on. Another example is not actually shared ownership, but I have a 3D scanner called an Einstar, and Cloud42 I think triggered me to get that. I had a specific project, and then that project got finished, and then the scanner is now on loan to my friend Adam Brunette. Happy to share it with him. So now he's using the scanner to good effect, and then one day the scanner will come back here as needed, right? So that's another really good example of time sharing a piece of equipment. And then this past couple of weeks, the idea popped up again, which is a Freddy coolant vacuum. I don't know if there's a better name for it. The Freddy it's like a vacuum cleaner. It sucks up the coolant. It filters the coolant. It will squirt the coolant out wherever you want. It's specifically for cleaning out coolant tanks. And they're not cheap. They're kind of expensive. Also, hashtag not sponsored, Octane Work Holding, who is a good guy, has become, I guess, the U.S. distributor or a U.S. distributor of the Freddy. So we're looking at that going, that would be another really good piece of equipment to do a time-sharing thing on it. Dale says, mine has traveled all over my city to various friends' shops. Exactly. Tucker asks, you need to rent one? I don't know what you mean, Tuck. We were thinking of, again, splitting the purchase of one between me and Adam, one of the Adams, Adam Brunette. And that might be a good idea because, first of all, you're going to have clutter credits, right? The thing is going to sit in your shop. It's going to take up square feet of floor space. If it can be 50-50 and like sometimes be in my shop, sometimes be in Adam's shop, that would be fine. And how often are you going to use it? You might use it once every couple of months, I think is a pretty robust estimate. On the other hand, it's a tool that works really well and does its job really well. So maybe that's not such a bad idea. There are tools that do not fit into the category, that maybe aren't such a good idea to timeshare. Maybe some metrology tools which aren't going to like traveling around a lot, or highly specialized tools, or tools that you use every week or every 2 weeks. It might be difficult to be transporting them back and forth between shops. So my question to the assembled masses is, what are other examples of tools like the Freddy where you only need it once every few months, and your buddy who lives an hour away might also only need it every few months, and this is another good application of time sharing instead of spending all the capital and having it tied up, and instead of having the clutter credits of having this thing take up square feet in the shop. Oh yeah, so Carl says Adam Booth had a Freddy and a similar product from a different vendor. Ask him which is the best value proposition. So I don't know that he had did he have a Freddy? Did he ever have an actual Freddy? Because I know about the other, he did. So I know about the other vendor, and I'm sure there was some sort of agreement, and maybe I will ask him. But I did go to the other vendor's website, and oh boy, they were not giving them away. I did not find the page upon which they were giving them away. They were very expensive. So right now, the Freddy seems to be the best price point for the little one. So that's a question mark. Tucker says maybe a bamboo H2D. Yeah. So, okay. Fun fact. My makerspace has an H2D. So if I want an H2D on a occasional basis, I actually have one 15 minutes away. That's not the problem. I have a whole team of people who are figuring out how to make me buy an H2D. Hang in there. Protium says none of them are cheap, meaning the coolant vacuums, but I can easily say that Simon, head of Freddy, is one of the most genuine people I have been lucky to talk to. That is a very high recommendation. Thank you, Protium. I appreciate that. Maybe I need to talk to Simon. Maybe that's what I need to do. Anyway, we have a 40-gallon coolant tank. Actually, effectively two 40-gallon coolant tanks and two little coolant tanks that need to be serviced. Stop it. Dale in Edmonton, Alberta, has been tracking the stock level of H2Ds at the Micro Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts, just to cause trouble. So I appreciate that. So Yeah, there are some specialized tools which can easily be shared amongst people who are geographically close. You're pretty lucky, Dale, because you do have other shops that are geographically in your area that are close and that you have a relationship with. Adam is he's more than an hour away, so call it hour and a quarter. But still, I think that might be a good way to go. And I will report back on how that proceeds. But I would like to get a handle on coolant cleaning and management. The coolant's been working really, really well. And I know somebody's going to ask this, what coolant do I use? I answered it last week. It's Qualichem 250C. That's my coolant. So last week I had a busy week, and as I was running up and down stairs, I go between the 3D printing lab and the machine shop and the office where I'm sitting now and the lab. And if I'm running around a lot, I feel like I'm getting a lot done. And it occurred to me that really the best use of my time is making the robots all happy. So, machines which do automated work, what we call CNC machines, if we can get them, and we've talked about this on a video before, if we can get them to cycle times which allow us to run around and keep all of the other CNC machines happy, we've hit this nice system tuning. And I was doing that last week, and I'm like, this is pretty good. So I started counting up how many robots, and I'm popping up a level from CNC machines to, quote, robots, was I keeping busy at one time. So I have 4 3D printers, 5 3D printers. I have 4 filament printers, FDM printers, and 1 resin printer. And I think we had all the printers running, so that was 5 of them. I had the grinder running, so that's 6 robots, because the grinder is a CNC machine. And I didn't quite have the mill running, but the number was 6. So if we had to have a productivity number, which is how many robots are running at the same time, I hit 6 robots at the same time, which I thought was pretty good. Potentially, I can get that up to 8. If I really try hard, I could have 8 robots running with just me. Wait for Protium. How many robots do you have? So this is sort of a figure of merit of how. And here I thought you were going to tell me I needed another an EDM. Protium says, sounds like you need some more printers. See above. And of course, it's the H2D. By the way, I just want to point out that Dale, who's giving me the most grief, he went out to buy an EDM machine and bought 3. Okay, so misery loves company. I understand. What time are they open till, Dale? I don't go to the website anymore for Micro Center. I just ask Dale because he's tracking it for me. Protium says, I'm sorry, is this not the weekly Machine Addict Enabler meeting? Actually, yes. Yes, it is. So, how many robots can you get going in your system with nobody else helping? I think that's a pretty good piece of leverage. A public service message from Dale. He says, drugs are bad. Buy machine tools instead. It's true. Nice compact machine tools which just crank the stuff out. So in our thumbnail today for today's video, which is here somewhere, There it is. Uh, you'll note that this is the molly stick holder that I make on the resin printer. So the resin printer in my shop makes a couple of different products. This is one of them. This is the holder for the piece of molybdenum that I sell, known as the molly sticks. And you might ask, why do you need a holder for that? Because if you don't put it in a holder, it looks like every other damn piece of metal in the shop. And you just paid, I can't remember what I charged for it. Call it $40. You just paid $40 for this little piece of metal that looks like every other damn piece of metal in your shop. So the holder keeps it identified and keeps it from rolling. Okay? It keeps it identified, it keeps it from rolling, and it gives you the website for the use and care right on the holder. So that's why we make those, and they're made out of the same resin, by the way, as the NOS, which is another product we make, which is the custom nozzle, the focusing nozzle for the coolant on the grinder, and that's one of the robots. So I can walk up to the printer, the Form 4 printer, and I can scroll down. It keeps it in memory, and I can say, yeah, make another batch of those, and walk away. And it does it. Proteum asks, I'm more curious why SLA versus FDM for that. That's a very good question. If you look at the nomenclature on the product itself, let's see if I can get you the picture of it. Let's see if I can find it. Give me a second. We'll get a better photo of this. If you're listening to the audio podcast, just trust me, this is extremely exciting. Extremely exciting. All right, there we go. So if you look at the product, it has some detail in it that's really hard to capture at that size in an FDM print. So if I made an FDM print that had the grippies, right, for the molly stick, I would then have to do something else to add the nomenclature. So this is a really good question, because I went around and around on this. The cost is not significantly different when all the dust settles. I think I make 12 of them up. I'm not sure. But it's completely reasonable to do. It's got fine enough resolution that I could have all that nomenclature on there. And it's strong. It's nice and strong. Now, if you think about it, if I made this in FDM, I would be fighting, if I made them direct to bed, I would be fighting layer lines in the strength. In other words, you're sliding this thing in or snapping it in. By the way, slide it in and out if you can. Just saying. I would end up with a snapped layer line. So there's a bunch of little decisions in there. Also, this was a very interesting exercise in direct-to-bed printing. Notice there's no supports or anything. When I started making these, there were supports, and I backpedaled. I had some details on the back of this print originally, or the model originally, which had magnets in it so that you can stick this thing somewhere. And it was such a pain in the neck, and it didn't look good, and it wasted a bunch of resin for the supports, that I went to the first example of a direct to bed print for a revenue product. And you can't see it in this picture, but there's some special bevels on the long sides of this print and no bevels on the short side of this print, and they are critical. In other words, you could get failures in the SLA prints if you try to print direct to bed with the wrong features. I'm not going to dive deep into it, but basically this was on the path of learning how to print direct to bed, and it was a very interesting exercise. Dale says labor is the cost, not the print cost. So yeah, it takes it's a 20-minute post-processing labor cost for the batch. So I would say you're right. I would say the labor is the biggest cost in making these. Okay. It takes, unloading the plate, going through my 4-step washing process, 4 steps. Okay. Hard earned, using the tough 1500 resin, and then into the curing chamber, which is, automated, and yeah, it takes a little while. Okay. So that is the major cost. So there's a good example of of FDM in the shop, but mostly automated. Now, conversely, I make the trays and the lids for the PFG Stones using FDM. That has been carefully also tuned. So every one of my four printers has all of the trays and lids in it. So if I need trays, if the spreadsheet tells me I need trays or lids, as I'm walking by the printer that has the appropriate PETG in it, I just bring it up, hit the button, and walk away, and come back later, and it will be done. So there's extreme process reliability in all of these systems. Okay, and I call it a walk by manufacturing process. As you walk by the machine, you hit it and you keep walking, and that, I think, is an excellent efficiency metric. Protium says, sounds like a time-shared injection molding machine is in your future. Okay, now, there is 15 minutes away, I have an injection molding machine. So if I had to use injection molding, yes, we can go that way. But listen, if you could solve the problem with 3D printing, why not? And that's what I've been doing. It's been working out really well. So, yeah, the printers are really great examples of robots. The grinder. Now, the process of making PFG stones, I've talked about this before, is such that I really like to see 1-hour cycle times. So if I could load up the machine with a 1-hour cycle time, not a wasteful 1-hour cycle time, then I could hit the button and walk away. I mentioned my 1-hour cycle time to Eric with a K yesterday. I think I was in the shop working, and he was like, whoa, that's a long cycle time on a grinder. Not really. It's exactly what you want on a grinder. So, yeah, that's what we shoot for, is to get all these. Now, coming up is I have to make more balancing rings. And another robot is going to be coming online, which is my vertical machining center. And we're going to make, Eric says, given my track record of 0 hours on a CNC grinder, to me, that's a lot. Well, I appreciate that. It's cool. But yes, it's a lot of fun not having to watch it. So we have a balancing ring production coming up, because we are very close to out. Like, I don't even want to tell you the number, but you can count it on one hand, okay? Remaining. So we're going to be making a batch of probably 100 pieces. I could probably stand to make more, but we're aiming at 100 pieces. And the conversation came up. Yeah, Dale says 1-hour cycle times on a manual grinder is a lot. And I will tell you about my physical therapist and me talking about just that thing, which is one of the reasons I ended up with a full CNC grinder. Is exactly that reason. Because if you think you're going to shortcut the process, this is going to be a throwaway comment that I'm not going to dive into this, but if you think you could shortcut the process and keep the quality where you want it, you are incorrect. There are certain things you can do manually on a grinder that are harder to do on my CNC grinder that will shorten that hour up, but it's not worth it. I get the quality of the process that I want at the lowest cycle time that I can get that quality at. And sometimes it's an hour, and sometimes it's 37 minutes, and sometimes it's an hour and a half, depending on which of my many setups. But yeah, that's how long it takes. So Dale and I were talking about this, and the balancing rings run is coming up, and I do those in 3 operations. Are you listening, Adam? The other Adam? I have 3 operations for that product. Okay, I have Op 1, Op 2, Op 3, and out. And one cycle time, once the pipeline is loaded up, every time I hit the button is 16 minutes to the next balancing ring. So I have a 16-minute cycle, roughly. 16 minutes is a weird number, right? It's pretty good, but you can't get a ton done in 16 minutes. You sort of have this geographic area around the CNC machine where you can get stuff done, and the shorter that cycle time, the smaller that radius of that area is that you can be in doing things. So it's a pretty good cycle time, but it would be really cool if it was an hour, right? Back to the 1 hour. Yeah, Dale says Angry Birds. That's the problem, is you can sit in front of the machine playing Angry Birds for 16 minutes, but you end up with a brain full of mush and not a lot done. So I started talking about, maybe I should redesign that process and multiply by 4. So now I could do 4 rings in Op 1. I could do 4 rings in Op 2. I could do 4 rings in Op 3. And I remember, because I was driving back from Boston, and Dale and I were chatting, and he said, and he has a lot of experience, he says, yeah, you're talking about Dave. Hi, Dave. How are you? My good buddy Dave Schaller says, 1 cup of coffee, is that 16 minutes? And on the next cycle, it's going to the bathroom. And the next cycle, it's another cup of coffee. That might be not a bad idea. Can I do tea? I prefer tea. That's just me. So Dale says, well, you're talking about 40 hours of work to design all of that fixturing for that process. And I thought about it. I'm like, that's a really good guess. I bought the help me here, Pearson Work Holding. I bought the Pearson Work Holding pallet system. I have that. That was, by the way, for another product that has not happened yet. So I was designing a Pearson pallet system in my head for doing that. And then he said, well, maybe just pallets. So you have one pallet that has Op 1, Op 2, and Op 3 on it, and all you're doing is swapping the pallet, hitting the button, and then reloading the other pallet. That's another approach. And we went back and forth on this, and when the dust settled, the number of times a year I have to stop and do this process was relatively small, and it was not worth designing a highly optimized process with more extensive tooling to do this. Could I do it? Yes. Should I do it? We ended up at no. So the bottom line is, we're going to do it the same way we did it before. See videos, because I've published videos on that process. And Dale says, your spindle sits idle all the time? Why? Yeah, my spindle sits idle a lot of the time because it's just me, and I'm not making product. Although I have an intern, who, if I can get him started in the shop, maybe we could take on more work and he could run it. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect quote. Dale encapsulated it. He said, "No need to make it go faster so that it can sit more." See what he did there? So that's interesting. And I like the way you put that, Dale. Thank you. So what do you do for the 16 minutes? Let's go back to the process that I do have. And the answer is you clean. And that's what I've decided that CNC stands for can't not clean. Okay. So during a 16-minute cycle, you can run around in the shop and clean. And I did that. Yeah. So Dale's point, this came out of our conversation, was, so what if you load the machine every hour instead of every 16 minutes? You're still making progress. That is true. That is true. But if you could run around the shop and clean in those 16 minutes, or in my case, run across the shop to the grinder and make sure it's well fed, then that's, you're hitting some pretty good efficiencies. And I don't have to spend the time designing new tooling, and I don't have to reinvent the wheel, and all my tool paths are already done. The only thing I change is the date code, so it'll get a new date code. But the process is pretty solid. So the decision was not to make any major changes. So we're going to go this coming week. We'll be fixing to get ready to start that process. However, before I do that, I need the CNC mill to do some work on the grooves in my 8-inch laps. And that's why I need help with getting these SVG files translated all the way down to tool paths. And now you see how everything is tied together. CNC can't not clean. So I needed more steel. So I go to my steel supplier and I pull up my old quote, and I send them the requirements from my old quote. Now I use 12-15 steel for this product, and I use 2.5-inch diameter steel rod, and I have the supplier slice them for me into hockey pucks. And the hockey pucks get processed into balancing rings. So I pull out my quote from the last time I bought a load of these things, and just to put a stake in it, it was $2.90 a piece, okay? $290 for the load. 70 pounds of steel. The date was April of 2023. So 2 years ago. Let's just call it 2 years ago. So I sent a quote in, and it comes back, and it was triple. And I'm like, whoa, holy cow. I know, the tariffs are bad, and, all this stuff's going on, and this is causing trouble. And I'm like, so I sit down, and here's my pieces of paper, right? I sit down with 2 years ago's quote and the quote I just got, and I start with my highlighter, and I'm marching through this quote, and I'm like, we have to figure this out. And I go through the quote, and the palm hits the forehead at a high rate of speed when I realize there was an error in the quote, and it wasn't a 1/2-inch thick a hockey puck. It was a 2.5-inch thick hockey puck. So it was 5 times the thickness, but only 3 times the price. I thought, oh, well, that's actually a pretty good deal. So mea culpa, I send an email to the nice people at Yard Metals, and I said, look, I screwed up. Please requote. Well, the new quote comes in. Okay. And I checked every line in this quote, went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and it is correct. However, instead of 2 years ago price of $2.90 a piece, it's $1.65 a piece. And I can't figure this out. So we were talking about this earlier, and Dale fired off, oh, wow, we were COVID. It was COVID problems, supply chain, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was April of 2023. I find it hard to believe that was, pandemic-related issues. And here we are, and there's a line here that says, price does not include any duties or tariffs. So there's a little scared there, but I'll check on that tomorrow. But that's a huge difference, $290 a piece to $165 a piece. So I don't understand. I'm also not going to complain. I'm just going to pay the nut and get my steel so I can get on with it. But if anybody has any clue as to why 1215 steel would have gone down pretty significantly, please let me know. I kind of want to understand what this pipeline is doing. This was quite interesting. So I'll have more information next week because I'm going to be talking to them tomorrow, and I'll be writing a check tomorrow because I need my metal tomorrow. Oh, and the lead time was not bad. The lead time was basically a week, or 5 business days or something. So it's not terrible. Maybe they ended up with like too much 1215 steel. I don't know. But if anybody has any clues, please let me know. I just got a funny one for you. I get an email that says, and I'm not going to read you the emails verbatim, but it basically says, can you please give me a price on your balancing stand and a balancing ring, please? And I'm like, well, here's the price, but you can go right to the website, And then the next one was, can you please give me a price on 40 of them? And I'm like, okay. And then the next email was, and listen carefully, this is your phishing and security advisory. It says, below is the phone number and address of the freight shipper where we want these shipped to Costa Rica. And they gave me a phone number. Of course, I traced the phone number to North Carolina. So clearly this was a phishing attempt, and they're going to dance me around until I whip out a credit card and read them a credit card number or give them my ACH information. Please be careful out there. I haven't decided how I'm going to play with this guy next, but it should be fun to see what happens. And if you're listening, James, if that's your real name, we know who you are. All right. Well, I've run out of stuff. Anybody have any questions, comments, or complaints? Put it in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up because we're coming up to the top of the hour. If you need some PFG stones of any size, head over to PFG.Stones.com. We'll take care of you. Balancing rings are hanging in the balance. Dale says he can't type fast enough for all the complaints. There's a reason for that, Dale. Everything 4 inches will be back in stock by Monday, but everything else is in stock right now. People, I got a really nice review recently, in which case, at which time the purchaser of PFG Stones said, and I'm remembering the words, he says, the shipping was blazingly fast. Well, it's blazingly fast if I have it in stock. I mean, literally, it generally will go up. From the time of your order to the time that it's shipped is frequently under 2 hours because I am very close to UPS and I'm very close to the U.S. Post Office. So I really try to keep shipping tight. And it's true. So if you need any stones or the balancing stand or the balancing ring or the NOS, let me know. Everything's in stock. Unless, of course, you pick the only thing that I don't have in stock. Let's see. Hearing no comments from the Peanut Gallery. Next week, we will be back with the PFG.Live at the normal time. We will have a guest. Eric with a K will be telling us all about the tool room takeover. So you'll want to be here for that. And Greenwood AG says, if you pull the trigger on a Freddy, get a Micro Plus. Unless you have a forklift, it makes use much more pleasant. Thank you for that input. That is an issue because I have to get it on I don't have a forklift. My buddy Adam has a forklift. I don't have a forklift. So getting it on my truck so I can take it over to him or vice versa is an important consideration. So I will look at the Micro Plus, making a note. Okay. Note taken. Eric K will be here. We'll have, if you have community notes for next week, you want to get a mention, fire it in, and we will take care of that. Dale will be taking bets on whether I have an H2D by next Sunday. And other than that, keep on cranking. Be safe in the shop. Have fun in the shop. Make something flat in the shop. Get flat, stay flat, and we'll see you guys next Sunday. Take care.